UFC 286 is almost here. This is my Before You Bet series, and it is intended to give you guys a full run through of my betting predictions and final full card predictions. I'm going to rapid fire through this as quick as I can because the card is coming up in like 12 hours now and I'm absolutely exhausted. So I'm going to be a little short in my reasoning for them. However, I do have a full card breakdown that I'll link in the description below that I went much more detail. For the first fight of the night, I'm going to be taking Juliana Miller to win this one. She's the winner of the Ultimate Fighter in the last season. She's a very talented prospect coming up, and her opponent that she's fighting is absolute dog trash. And I think Veronica is going to get no takedowns in this one, so my favorite prop bet is going to be no takedowns on the side of Veronica. I think Juliana is going to go in there and have some good success and make it look quite easy tonight. My next pick is going to be Ludovit Klein. I know Herbert's coming in with a massive size advantage. Ludovit Klein's kickboxing is a little more crisp to me. I know both are finishers. However, I see this one going the distance. So that's why my favorite prop bet for this matchup is fight goes the distance. You can get it at plus 170, mainly because Herbert and Ludovit are very violent finishers. Sometimes when you get that type of matchup though, you see it go all 3 rounds. So I like that prop bet. That's going to be my pick for this one. And moving on up is Joanne Wood. Now I know if you guys watched my earlier predictions, I was not on Joanne Wood's side. However, I've changed my mind here. The reason is she is technically the better fighter, right? Like I said in my last week's prediction. And I don't know if I want to bank on the fact that she's going to be old and give up. I don't know if that's the smartest idea because she's coming off a few first round finishes. I assume she has some sort of ego about herself, right? Every fighter does. And they're actually presenting her with a winnable matchup skill wise. So I think she's going to take advantage of that. She's going to put the pace on her and win a decision or finish her is my final prediction for this matchup. I'm going to be taking fight goes the distance at minus 280 for this prop bet. I think it's decent value and has a high likelihood of hitting. And let's be honest, almost all female fights go the distance. So really like that prop bet if you're into prop bets and you want to take a stab. Moving on up, I'm picking Jake Hadley. I know he's going up against a really good jiu-jitsu match here. I think he's going to have the better of it though. My favorite prop bet is over 1.5 takedowns. The reason I like that prop bet is Malcolm has some really good defensive wrestling and jiu-jitsu himself. So I expect Jake to get him down and then have to get him down at least one more time before finishing him. That's what I'm hoping for the prop side there. And for the actual money line pick, I just think Jake's the better jiu-jitsu fighter and better fighter overall. Malcolm's got some serious heart to him. He's in my underdog watch, spoiler alert. He absolutely is live in this. Don't be using this on all your plays. But gun to my head, I'm going to go with that for my pick on this matchup. Up next, we have Leroy Duncan for the money line pick. I think he's just a better fighter than Dusko. Dusko has proven to be very inconsistent in his career. He's very hittable. And I think Leroy Duncan's going to really show off his crisp, clean striking in this matchup and make it look pretty easy. I like this pick with confidence. My favorite prop for this one is does the fight go the distance? No, I think that we're going to see a finish in this matchup and you can get some decent value there. Moving on up, I'm going to be taking Lerone Murphy money line. I think he's in a very live matchup here. This isn't one I'm picking with incredible confidence because he's going up against a young prospect who is quite the beast in his own right. But if I had to pick, I would pick Lerone Murphy, but you'll see in my cards later, I'm not using him too heavily in this. I do think he gets the job done though. And sometimes the ones I'm the least confident about just go in there and make me look like, oh shit, like you really should have been more confident about that. You really never know in MMA, right? So I thought I would at least mention it, but at the end of the day, you pick what you want to pick. This is just how I'm feeling about this. And my favorite prop bet for this one is minus 220 for more significant strikes landed on the Lerone Murphy side. I think that's great value. I see him outlanding Gabriel Santos in this matchup, so a prop like that is easy money in my opinion. I like that prop with confidence. And real quick, I just want to say, if you guys like my content, take a second and subscribe, like, comment. It helps my new channel grow. And I'm spending a good amount of time on these videos too. I think you guys can tell. So just seeing the channel grow and seeing you guys enjoy what I'm doing, it motivates me to make this stuff as good as I possibly can and just to improve every single week. Moving on up, we have Mokaev money line. Not great odds on this one. He's like minus 800 and his opponent has a decent jiu-jitsu game himself, and Muhammad had a tough time in his last matchup. All things considered, I still think Muhammad's the much better fighter. I see him going in there and getting a first or second round finish. Even though the other guy would do good against most fighters, I'm calling him the other guy for a reason because he's fighting Mokaev. In the next one, I'm going to be taking Sam Patterson money line. I know that he's a big prospect. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu. He looks very hittable in some of his fights, but at the same time, he gets the job done. And he's got such a size advantage in this matchup, like it's disgustingly big. So for a guy who likes to use grappling, that should spell a recipe for success. I don't see him losing this fight. I'm picking him with confidence. For this one, I would take does fight go the distance? No, I think Sam Patterson's going to get the finish in this one. I see him taking him down, getting an early sub, first or second round. Moving on up, we have Duncan, and how confusing is it that we have 2 Duncans on the card? Like, come on. He's not the best fighter in the UFC. This matchup in general is a huge coin toss. The reason I'm edging it towards him is he has the youth and size advantage. Omar Morales is about equal in skill, and what I mean by that, nothing special. but he's much older. So for those reasons, I am going to be taking Duncan in this matchup, but again, not with confidence. It's a true coin toss. And I think for a good prop bet on this one, I would go, does fight go the distance? No. Moving on up, we have Jack Shore. I'm taking him for money line. He's coming off a loss. It's a good prospect. That loss, I think, is going to teach him a lot of lessons, make him be a little bit more responsible in terms of getting into a huge firefight. And, obviously got caught with a sub when he fell down. He's going up against a very mid-tier fighter in this one. I think this is going to be a fight that they're giving for Jack to get back in the win column. I'm picking him with confidence, but at minus 600, you're not really getting much value on him, are you? And my favorite prop for this one's going to be for Jack to land more significant strikes. And that also pays minus 600. So not a whole lot of action to take on that one. However, that's because it's a pretty clear path for him. Moving on up to the main card, we have Marvin Vettori for my next pick. I'm going to be taking Marvin because he should win this fight, right? So far in his UFC career, the only people to really give him problems is Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. And those guys have crazy footwork, which makes it difficult for a pressure fighter like Marvin to slowly walk to them and get them because they're just moving around and hitting them all the time, right? Dolidze doesn't have that same level of movement. He hits harder than them. He's going to hurt Marvin. He's going to look like a beaten up bowl of mashed potatoes by the end of this. But I do think he will land more in those exchanges and win on the decision. It's sort of the Marvin Vettori way. I see it happening in this matchup as well. And that being said, my favorite prop is Marvin Vettori to win on points. That's how I see him winning this decision. I don't think he finishes them, and I think he accumulates more damage and steals the rounds. Coming up next, we have Jenifer Maia, and I know I was on the side of Casey O'Neill at the early start of this week. I've changed my mind, and this is why. She likes to mix up her strikes and use high pace, right? So I really wonder, for a younger fighter, how is that going to affect their mentality? And then they're going up against a really seasoned veteran who's done very high-paced fights, gone 5 rounds, shown to still be there, hanging on, putting up a good fight in the end of those 5 rounds, and has also done very good against non-elite fighters in the division. So I'm not saying Casey O'Neill's not an elite fighter. I just see sort of a spelling for an upset here. I think Casey O'Neill might just lose the pace battle. She might go out there, start off good for a minute or two, and I think Jenifer Maia might really start taking away with this. I think by the end of the 2nd round, Jenifer Maia will be the favorite on the live odds. That being said, I do think the fight goes the distance, so my prop for this one is going to be fight goes the distance at minus 260. Some decent value there, I think. Moving on up, we have Gunnar Nelson. This is an extremely winnable matchup for him. He has crazy good submissions, and he's really quick with his movement, whereas Brian Barberena throws wild looping strikes, some straight strikes too, but he's really not a good grappler. He was just recently manhandled by RDA. I don't see Nelson being able to manhandle him in that way. He's not as strong as RDA, but he is more tricky with submissions. So that being said, I'm picking Nelson by sub, and that's also the prop bet that I like most on this matchup. We got Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fizeav. Earlier in the week, I was on the Fizeav train. However, if you saw my last video, I have since changed my mind. I'm not going to get too in depth with it because I just uploaded a breakdown of why I think Justin wins this fight. To keep it short though, I think this fight is going to suit to the style of Justin Gaethje just a bit more with the higher pace and the craziness of it than Rafael Fizeav. And I think Justin's going to edge out a decision here. However, again, I'm not picking this one with incredible confidence. Gun to my head, that's who I pick. I did use him on some parlays because of the underdog odds. I think this fight should be a true coin toss, not a plus 200 for Justin. So that's why I had to dabble in it. But let's not be crazy. Rafael definitely could win this one. So whatever you do, be careful with this one. And also, does fight go the distance all 3 rounds for plus 175? Good prop bet. I could totally see this fight going the distance. Whether which fighter wins or loses, I could absolutely see that happening. So I'm going to be taking Kamaru Usman in the main event. This one should be a little more obvious than it is, but I mean, I made a whole video how Leon can win, so I can't blame anybody. I see that side of it too. He did very well in the first fight, convincingly winning that fight. 2nd round, he lost the 1st round just because he got taken down and tripped halfway through it. Otherwise, he was winning the first half. He dominated the next 3 rounds, was dominating the 4th round until he got caught with the KO. So I think if you have to make your pick here, it's far more logical to go on the side that Kamaru Usman's going to go out there and do what he does. And I expect him to be very fired up in this matchup. Like, he was getting a little complacent and still dominating people. Imagine what he's going to be like now that he's been embarrassed, had that taken from him, had Leon talking crap to him. You guys know I love Leon Edwards. I love his story. I think it's very motivational. That being said, I think he's going to get dominated this weekend. I see like a 50-45 type of decision, if not Kamaru finishing him. Like, it's not going to be pretty. I don't think the UFC London fans are going to be too happy, but I think I'll be quite happy because I've got Kamaru Usman on a bunch of my parlays. The first category is called investing, not gambling, and now I want to make this clear. That's of course a joke. Anything can happen in these fights, guys, no matter how confident you are in a pick. Don't bet any more than you can afford to lose. It's never fun. You don't want to be watching a fight when you're literally, your rent money's hanging on the line. Do whatever you want if you want to. Take whatever these picks you like, remove what you don't like. I want to be able to sleep at night and know I'm not screwing anybody here. The first card in this category, we're taking Gunnar Nelson, Justin Gaethje, and Kamaru Usman. The last 3 fights of the night, it pays 4.4x your money. If you're on the Fizeav side, you're not going to like that one, but I do like Justin Gaethje in that matchup. That's why I like it for 4.4x. I'm going to be putting 1.5 units on it myself. The next one is Sam Patterson, Leroy Duncan, Joanne Wood, Kamaru Usman, and Gunnar Nelson. This one's paying out 4.7x your money. All of them are favorites. You're not having to hop on any sort of underdog or anything too crazy here, and you're only doing a 5-leg parlay. So I'm going to be putting 1.5 units on this one as well. You'll notice I'm pretty much going to be hitting every single one of these myself. So moving on up, we have Kamaru Usman, Marvin Vettori, Jenifer Maya, Sam Patterson, and Gunnar Nelson. Again, another 5-leg parlay. This one's paying out 7.4x, so a little bit more juicy, a little bit more exciting. Obviously, because you're adding Jenifer Maya on there and she's got some dog odds right now. She's fighting the prospect like we said earlier. But if you agree with me that Jenifer Maya is going to win, take advantage of that. Use her to boost up this parlay. It's one I'm going to be riding as well, 1.5 units. And coming up next, we have Leroy Duncan, Sam Patterson, Marvin Vettori, Jenifer Maya, and Gunnar Nelson. This one's paying out 7.8x. Pretty similar to the one above. We're just taking off Usman in case you're really on the Leon Edwards side. I'm not going to be riding this one just because I am on the Usman side, but for you Leon lovers, this one is there, and you can actually add Leon to it and pay way more as well, of course. Moving on up, we have Gunnar Nelson, Leroy Duncan, Marvin Vettori, Lerone Murphy, Juliana Miller, and Kamaru Usman, paying out 8.4x your money. Little similar to the ones above, but I shuffled around a couple of my picks from earlier. I like to ride a few of them like this, so that way if I'm wrong on 1 or 2 picks for my predictions, which is probably going to happen, I will be putting 1.5 units on that one myself as well. In the last one of investing, not gambling section, we have Joanne Wood, Leroy Duncan, Sam Patterson, Jenifer Maya, and Gunnar Nelson. This one's the most exciting in this category, paying out 9.2x your money. I would say Leroy Duncan is the most scary pick of the group if you're looking for one to pull away and switch with something else. Other than that, I really like that card for 9.2x your money. I'm going to be putting 2 units on that card. And I'm taking Gunnar Nelson, Sam Patterson, Marvin Vettori, Kamaru Usman, Justin Gaethje, and Jenifer Maya. So obviously this one's going to pay more because you're doing Gaethje at plus 200, Jenifer Maya at plus 200, plus a few favorites. However, Gaethje and Maya, I like them at those odds, and if you have the balls like me to put them together, you're rewarded with 24.8 extra money if it hits. And I'm going to be putting 1 unit on this myself. To get a little bit more juicy, we're doing Leroy Duncan, Sam Patterson, Marvin Vettori, Justin Gaethje, Lerone Murphy, Juliana Miller, Joanne Wood, and Usman. This is an 8-legger parlay, 34.5x your money. If you're trying to do some lotto plays and you want to ride along with me, I'm doing half a unit on this one. Though of course we're entering Spookyville when it comes to parlays. Like anything more than 4 or 5 legs is getting a little scary statistically. But you know, I've made it out the end on a few of these ones and it's always fun. So if you want to do it for fun, that's on you. I will be. And now moving up to the dog watch section of the video. These are the top 4 underdogs of the card in my opinion that I could totally see winning their matchup. So if you want to sprinkle them together on any of the other parlays from earlier or any of your parlays, just saying, it might not be a bad idea. The first one is Justin Gaethje at plus 200. I've gone over it ad nauseum why I think he's a good pick. I'll leave it there. I don't know the future for sure, right? I could be wrong. Leon Edwards could have that hometown advantage, get some success earlier, steal some rounds, maybe even lands another head kick KO. I don't know. If you do believe on the side of Leon Edwards, he's offering out some pretty good odds, so he's definitely an underdog that you might want to consider. However, I'm not touching him because I'm picking Kamaru with confidence. And the next is Jenifer Maya, guys. At plus 180, she's a big underdog. In my opinion, she should be the favorite after seeing everything this week and really looking into the matchup. So some really pretty good odds for the actual likelihood of the fight. It really should be a coin toss if anything. So anytime the odds makers are off because they're valuing a prospect's name, it's kind of fun to take the other side. And the last underdog of Dog Watch is Malcolm Gordon. He's the biggest underdog as well at over plus 300. And again, he has some really good offensive wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu. He put Muhammad Mokaev in some serious danger of getting finished, pushed him to his limits, and if Hadley isn't up for it tonight, we could totally see an upset there. So I'm going to be doing 1 unit as a single bet just for fun on it. If you want to juice up some parlays to a crazy extreme and you're looking for a big underdog to add to that, Malcolm Gordon's not a bad pick at all. But again, gun to my head, I am picking Jake if my life depended on it. Betting wise, Malcolm Gordon, man, he's a decent underdog here. And that's going to be it for this video. I know it's shorter, a little different than my normal series. Again, I was really running tight on time to get this out with the card starting earlier. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you guys so much for your support on this week's fight content. Make sure you subscribe if you like my vibe, you like the content that I do. I love seeing your guys' comments and seeing the channel grow. It motivates me to just make this content as good as I can, do my research as best as I can, and just just continue to put out, you know, my own little version of MMA content that I see you guys are liking. Big shout out to you guys. And finally, UFC 286 is here. I can't wait. Let's hope it lives up to it.